You are listening to SFL Radio.
You're listening to the Owner's Box podcast on SFL Radio. Now here's the host of the SOB and my bongo-playing compadre, Stephen Mullinax. All right.
Welcome to the SFL Owner's Box. The SOB is a weekly 30-minute podcast that covers all the headline-worthy topics from this week in the Simulation Football League, a.k.a. the SFL. For the uninitiated, the SFL is the ultimate sim football experience that features real-life users as players, coaches, and owners. With 2 fully commentated games a week, full stat tracking provided by DaxStats, fantasy football, and much, much more, this is the ultimate sim experience for football lovers everywhere. Find out how you can get involved at simulationfl.com. That's simulationfl.com. He's the owner of one of the newest teams in the SFL, the 3-2 Alaska Storm, but you likely know him as the co-host of the league's best podcast, Inside the SFL. It's the one and only Max Paul Mighty. Thanks for joining me here on the SOB podcast.
Well, Stephen, Mr. SOB himself, I want to thank you for the opportunity, and for giving me this canvas.
Absolutely. First off, how's the bye week treating you?
It is awesome. The fact that I won't have to go to bed at 3:30 in the morning Wednesday night trying to tighten up the last bit of the playbook is a beautiful thing. But really the fact that we were able to go into the bye week with a win, with 2 in a row, being able to see what works and what doesn't, and the strengths of our team, and be able to cater our defensive philosophies and playbooks, and offensive philosophies and playbooks to what our players do best, and then being able to execute the game plan is awesome. And the fact that we're going in, we got a winning record, and then we get to rest up and prepare us to give us 2 weeks for this emotional matchup that we got coming up against the old team, the team that gave me my start.
And we talked about it before we got on the air here. I wanted to talk to you because obviously you do a great job on Inside the SFL, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to really talk about your team and you being a first-time owner, and get a chance to strut your stuff a little bit and celebrate your own team a little bit more than you get to do on the other podcasts, because you're trying to be a good host. So we appreciate that. I appreciate that. So let's get into the Alaska Storm's year so far. After an opening 24-17 victory over Mexico City, you dropped to 2 back-to-back away games to both Dallas and Los Angeles. Now, in that stretch, your offense didn't score a single touchdown, and your defense gave up a total of 69 points. You returned to Anchorage to get a major win over the Sioux Falls Sparrows, 24-17 in Week 4. And to prove that victory was more than just about home cooking, you go into Atlanta this weekend and you beat the 2-1 Swarm 27-16. So something really sparked on this team after your Week 3 loss to your podcast co-host Doug Bose and the Sharks. In your mind, what really changed?
As a young team, I guess we didn't fully understand the kind of work that was necessary. You get that initial victory and you're like, yes, we got it solved. We're going undefeated. Championship is the championship's plural. And then you walk into that stadium in Dallas and it's like, whoa, this is what a road game feels like. Nobody's with you. You don't have the roar of that home crowd, but back in your place. So when you get a great defensive play, nobody's cheering with you. When you're scoring offense, it's quiet. It's so quiet you can hear a pin drop, and it's like, So for this young team and the young guys we have on the squad, it becomes a surreal experience, and eventually the experience overtakes you instead of you being able to just, calm down. We've been through this before, and we weren't there yet. So we go to Dallas, we get thumped over the head with Mac Wavy. I think he just threw another touchdown pass against our team, and then we go to and then from Dallas we didn't even have a chance to go back to Alaska. We went right to LA, and then, the glitz and the glamour and all the young guys like, oh my gosh, the Hollywood stars. And and they forget we had a football game coming up that weekend, and Doug Bowles reminds them by literally stepping on their chests and their hearts to the tune of almost 300 yards. So, we got home, and the guys are like, no, I love the competitors we have on the team. And they were like, no, we're not going to go out like this. And then that whole week, going into Sioux Falls, we just prepared like no other. The focus was razor sharp. The game plan was to take advantage of some things that we saw on tape that Sioux Falls likes to lean on. And we're like, you know what? If they like to lean on that, we're going to make the treading difficult to do what they like to do and try to force them into things that they don't like to do. And that's how we're able to edge them there. And then when the young guys say, okay, preparation, meeting opportunity equals good fortune. And so they were able to, we got back to the grind for the week leading to the Atlanta game. And the guys were like, they weren't going to have a repeat performance like they did going to Dallas and going to LA. And that's how they were able to, bring out the complete game where offense, defense, and special teams, because Stephen T. Diggs had a punt return for a touchdown. The defensive, the field goal team had a block. So all facets of the game were able to come in and contribute to the last victory we had. And because that's the team motto in Alaska, it's 3 phases. We cover all 3. We want to make sure that all 3 are sound, and that's what's going to give us an opportunity to win every game.
Yeah, the 3 phrases, of course, you're talking about offense, defense, and special teams. I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball here, so we're going to go off script. But at the beginning of the season, looking at team builds, the thing that I talked about your team, it seemed like it was built for bad weather games, and you guys haven't had really any games any games in the snow as of yet. I assume that they're probably coming. But is that fair to say that you were built for those type of games?
Yes, we're not built for speed. That's not what the Storm is about. The Storm is not trying to run around you, dizzy you with moves, ankle breakers, and spin it. No. The Storm is about lining up, punch you in the mouth, line up, punch you in the mouth again. A whole 44 minutes of just repeatedly just hitting you as hard as they can. And if you're able to withstand it and you win the game, hey, good game to you, sir. You were the better team that time. But more often than not, we expect to be the better team because we just want to out-physical our opponent.
Well, running back Justin Beakley is clearly the Storm's main option on offense, rushing for 287 yards and 3 scores in their last 2 games. But when quarterback Murdoch Mock throws 1 interception or less, you guys win. In fact, on Sunday, you defeated the Swarm at home despite Mock turning the ball over once and not having a single touchdown pass. So what are your thoughts about your bronze quarterback's play so far this season?
He is doing what he is performing the way that he is asked to perform. We're not asking him to go out there and win the game. That is not his job. His job is to caretake. His job is to manage the down and distance, to always keep us in a position where we are a threat to convert. Because I believe going into the game against Atlanta, we had the number 1 third down conversion percentage in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So that is his job, to keep the chains moving, keep us on time, get us out of bad plays, get us into good plays. And then, if we only get a field goal in that drive, it's okay. If we got a punt, but we got a couple first downs, we just flip the field position in our favor, where the opposition has to go 80, 90 yards against us. Oh, I don't like their chances to do that on a regular basis. And that's what Murdoch Mock's job is. It's not about, throwing 80-yard touchdowns let's matriculate the ball down the field, eat up clock, get Beakley involved, get Merrill involved. If Klein's one-on-one, throw it up to him, let him do what he does. And then if there's opportunity to score, you throw your touchdown strike. But don't force the ball in spots where it's not necessary. Take what the defense gives you, and the defense and the special teams they'll find a way to win. But his job is to not lose the game.
And really, when talking about Alaska, a lot of the focus is on the play of Beakley and Mock. But This defense is likely one of the most underrated in the league. Can you talk a little bit about the effect Stevie T. Dix has had on your squad, both on the field and off?
Well, I had to coax him into, unretiring, Stevie T. And then he was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, man, Stevie T, watch. Stevie T was a beast as a gold when he was in Cleveland. I can make him just as good as a silver. Just put him in my hands. Just trust your boy. I know what I'm doing. And then he's like, you know what? Go ahead. And then we put Stevie T on the field. We feel like he could match up with any receiver in the league, be it gold, silver, bronze, non-star. We feel like we fully trust him on his side. And so far this year, he has not let me down. He's been making play after play. And also in the return game as a return specialist, he's been exactly that. When the ball's in his hands, he's like magic. Oh, it's magic. That's Stevie T. Dix right there. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean the impact that he's had on the field has been amazing, and he put that game away against Sioux Falls with a killer interception at the end of the game. You obviously mentioned the kickoff return for a touchdown. The guy could be arguably the defensive MVP of the league so far. So you have a pretty big game coming up for yourself personally in Week 7. The Storm are going into your old stomping grounds, Baltimore, the team you were the defensive coordinator for. Correct me if I'm wrong, the last 2 seasons. Is that right?
Nope, just last season.
Just last season. Okay. It just seems like you've been around longer, my friend. I wanted to get your thoughts on Baltimore's play so far this year, and do you think the bye week gives you any sort of advantage against them?
The bye week, I wouldn't say it gives me necessarily an advantage, but it does allow me to sit back and see which tweaks they're making to their offensive philosophy and which tweaks they're making to their defensive game plans to kind of adjust to what teams are trying to do and take away what teams are trying to do. So I guess that's where it'll come into effect. And Baltimore, I believe the way they're going about this season is they're kind of feeling things out, understanding how to use this new 4 wide receiver build they have, as well as getting these new core players, involved in the way that they could, between, Rastelli being a new signal caller and Townsend Robinson being, the new goal running back. Those guys, offensively are trying to, fill each other out, see how to get everybody involved, but at the same time, being able to take full advantage of their own abilities. So I see that's where Baltimore is, at least offensively and defensively. We all know Baltimore is Baltimore. They always have a very good defense coming into the league. They take away the big play, force you to matriculate the ball down the field, and force you to have multiple play drives. They might be able to get a stop, force a punt, or even worse, get you to turn the ball over, which is to their benefit. So that's the Baltimore we all know and recognize for these last umpteen seasons. That's how they play. So I am very much excited to be going back. What was my home for the last 2 seasons? Because you were correct. I started as a receiver there, and then my second season there, I became DC. So what was my home the last 2 seasons? Going to go see familiar faces. After the game we'll break bread, but leading into the game we ain't friends.
Well, including the Crabs in Week 7, the Storm have some very big matchups coming up. You've got to face the 3-1 Las Vegas Gamblers twice, the St. Louis Gladiators, who just got their first win over the Sharks, Mexico City, Houston, and Oklahoma City, all on tap. Do you have any of these games circled on your calendar?
I have the Baltimore game circled on my calendar because the way I look at it, it's always let's take care of the next game because these games down the road will get to us eventually. Let's not even focus on what's down there. Let's take care of the week that is upon us. Let's do our P's and Q's. Let's wrap it up tight. So make sure that we're fully prepared because that's what happened to us earlier this season and caused us to lose those games like that is us seeing the overall schedule. When's the bye week? Oh, it's right before Baltimore, and we got the slate of home, back-to-back away games. And no. Let's just focus on the task that's ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure we, give it our all, 100%. I don't get where these people get like, give it 115. You don't have 115 to give. It's impossible. So let's give it 100%, and, give it all our focus. And then let's, hope we come out with one more point when it's all zeros on the clock. And then we'll focus on the next task ahead. But that's how we do it in Alaska.
You are one of 3 new owners we welcomed into the league this season. How's your experience been as a new owner? And if you could go back in time before the season started and tell yourself one thing about running an SFL team, what would that be?
Being an owner has been awesome. Being able to promote, kind of recruit, having gear that is designed, with your logo, the logo you thought of is awesome. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going around, I'm at church, people seeing me with the gear on, they're like, dude, what is that? Is that a new NFL team? I'm like, nah, brother, that's a SFL team. What's the SFL? I'm glad you asked. And that's how you get new people into the league. It's a great marketing tool. So being an honor to me, being an owner has been great. What would I have told myself coming into the season?
Mm-hmm.
I would have convinced myself to work a little harder at getting assistance, like to press a little harder to get guys to want to jump in and kind of delegate workload too. So I'm not sitting here with my finger in everything, having to make sure, okay, the defense is the way I wanted to run this week against this team because this is what they like to do. Media to make sure that I promote not only my team but the league and the Inside the SFL and market trends and the SOB podcast and oh wait, there's videos out there. Okay, let's create highlight packages of the storm and to just make sure that I delegated or had people to delegate this kind of work to. That's the only thing I would have probably by myself. Dude, you're going to need help. Multiple people are necessary to make sure your organization is ran the way you envision. So that's probably what I would have told myself, coming into the season. But besides that, it's been a bumpy road, but that's what makes this journey so exciting. The fact that there are up and downs. If there are no downs, you can't enjoy the up. If there are, you know what I'm saying? If there are no ups, down is awful. So it's the degree of radiance or is what makes this journey so great.
Here we go, another curveball, something off the script once again, sir. Just piggybacking off of that, you are from the TJ coaching tree, and that's had a little discussion here as of late. What can you? Is there anything that you can really pinpoint to that you've really taken as a new owner and coach from TJ and working with Baltimore last year?
You leave no stone unturned, and as a coach, that means you make sure that you examine, and then you run simulation after simulation after simulation till you get till you get the result you desire. And 2, don't be so stubborn that it winds up costing you in the end because you think this is the only way. This is the only way. This is the only way. And then what's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. Well, that's what being stubborn as a coach is to me. So that's the 2 things I learned from TJ. Make sure, you do due diligence, run the simulations, as many possible in all kinds of situations possible, and don't be so stubborn that it costs you in the end.
On the latest episode of Inside the SFL, you mentioned that the SFL Fantasy Football Podcast Market Trends, not remembering silver cornerback Evan Carroll's name, pissed you off, your words, not mine, and helped to fuel you to work even harder to beat the Sparrows in Week 4. I've had similar reactions as an owner to things said on your podcast, using what I deem to be disrespect as motivation to improve as well. And I'm sure some of my listeners have had similar feelings about things that I've said on the SOB. I think we are all so consumed with our teams and we are so focused on them and improving them that they can seem like our children at times. And anytime your child is even the slightest bit disrespected, even in the smallest of ways, it can feel so personal. What are your thoughts?
That is exactly it. Like, I don't mind the truth being spoken. Like, after the LA game, if you tell me, Max, your defense sucks, I'd have been, you know what? Yes, we do. That's why, like, on Inside the SFL that following week, I even told Doug, we should be ranked 16. He's like, there's only 14 teams. That's how bad we're playing right now. You know, hey, I'm the first one to look in the mirror and say, dude, you're terrible. What are you doing? But don't omit and don't, you know, don't disrespect players. Like, if a player has played well, and I'm going to give kudos where kudos is due, and I'm going to criticize, yes, but I won't disrespect. Those are two completely different things. You know, if Mott comes in and throws 6 interceptions and somebody says that, you know, Mott played terrible, well, you're only speaking of his play. You're not characterizing that player as something that he, you know what I'm saying? Because the improvement is possible. But to just say, man, who's that guy again? Man, I don't know who that guy is. Who cares about that guy? Whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? That is not how it goes. No, I wouldn't do that to anybody. So I wouldn't expect that anyone to do that to my players as well.
Yeah, and I don't, you know, anything that I have said, I haven't meant any ill will towards anyone else, or, you know, it's simply what we were asked to do, and trying to provide an extra avenue for information and entertainment for everyone who enjoys the SFL as much as we do. But, you know, I've just as a listener of your podcast, and not particularly as you as co-host, but just, you know, you guys have been around a long time, and anytime you lose, it's like, you know, if you start talking negatively about a team that's lost, it's kind of like picking at a scab, and it just kind of, even if it's done without any ill will behind it, just as a plain, as an observer, as, you know, a professional, as a type of journalist, even from that angle of it, I know me as an owner can be really sensitive about the things that are said, and it can make me want to prove people wrong. So I thought it was really great for you to bring up, to be totally honest, because I felt that same way, and I'm sure that all owners that have, and even coaches or anyone who takes personal responsibility for these teams has felt that, you know, felt some kind of way about something someone has said when it comes to their team.
Yeah, you know, man, and what's funny is about that week, it's not like I wasn't going to do everything in my power to put the Storm in a position to be competitive against Sioux Falls. But the fact that was, you know, the way that was said is just, you know, and I'm the type that like to prove people wrong, you know, and then man, okay, just whoop.
It can irk. No, I think everybody understands. It can irk you a little bit, and
it can. And then but you know, Andy and I had a conversation. We squashed it, and you know, it's all good. But just when that occurred, that like lit me on fire, like no one's business, you know. And I even, you know, I even shared that information with Evan because he's my coworker, and he's like, "Oh, really?" And then, you know, so you know, hey, keep, you know, talk bad about the Storm, like, yeah, these guys can't score, yeah, these guys they're not very good. Okay, you know, I don't mind it when we're not very good, but to just completely omit players and dismiss players because, you know, understanding that, dude, we're 3 games in, there's a whole lot of season still left to play. Mm-hmm. Things can change in the New York minute. So anyways, we'll leave it at that.
And I'm not one for trash talking myself. I just never have been that way. There are people that are very skilled at it, as we've seen on Slack, you know, and they know the limits. They know, you know, what's too far and what's too not. But yeah, it's so personal when you spend so much time. And, you know, one of the things I've been amazed at is, you know, sometimes people don't know my players. and I have to kind of jump in their shoes a little bit. And remember, they're focused on their team and trying to get wins every week, and they don't necessarily know everything about it, your team that you know. So, it's those little things you get irked and you have some feelings there. But I thought it was cool that you brought it up because it rings true. It's absolutely true. It's happening for me too. So. There are some big storylines developing throughout the league this season. As co-host of Inside the SFL, I know you keep up with all of them. For example, when will Carolina get their first win? That's been a big thing. I've had a couple of the Skyhawks contact me this week asking for some perspective on maybe what they can do or how they can help. They are just really scratching for that first victory, and I think they're really close. Are the 4-0 Pride really the best team in the SFL? Are the Las Vegas Gamblers the real deal this season? And can anyone stop running back Doug Bose? And after dominating last season, can the Sparrows and the Aztecs turn their fortunes around? Max, what are some of the most interesting storylines for you so far this season?
The Tallahassee Pride start, and then their, I guess we would call it acquisition, or their convincing of two-time champion owner T-Pat to kind of not, I guess we call it unretiring as well, don't hang him up, just be my OC. It doesn't take as much work. And then Frank, being able to focus his efforts on that defense and what they're doing in Tallahassee has been, I could say a breath of fresh air, especially after the way last year ended for them. That's nice. I like the fact that the Gamblers, after, making the move all the way across country, wishing for a rebirth, acquiring some former players of a winning culture. Now these guys are able to, kind of, hey, young man, this is what's necessary to be done to win. And, before this last game, they were winning ugly, but they were winning because at the end of the day, that's what matters. And they're slowly starting to put things together in Vegas, and people need to start taking notice. Vegas is going to be a problem if you're not ready, those kind of things. And the Sparrows with that 9-star defense and that three star offense, can they find a way to recapture some of that magic that they had last season, with all the big plays that they're able to be, had in the passing game, the way they love the big play. Can LA's Matt South play to his level? Because so far this season, he has played nowhere near like a gold should. And, that's why I guess Doug Bose has been going off, because his quarterback isn't putting in the work that is necessary. So there are many storylines. That's why I love the SFL, because you never know. You never know. And right now, mind you, we're not even to the halfway point yet. By the time we get, a couple games past halfway mark, we could have brand new storylines like, wow, can Tallahassee run the table, because they're 7-0 or something crazy like that. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody might come out the woodwork and Carolina's going to win 3 straight. And next thing you know, they're right in the thick of it in the East. And that's what makes football so great, man. Any given Sunday or Monday. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Perfect. That's exactly. I think we could go down each and every SFL team and find a 2 or 3 intriguing storylines, and as the postseason approaches, those storylines are going to get more and more intricate and important and relevant for the playoffs. So we talked a little about pissing people off, Mighty, and I think we're going to do some of that right now. And really, it's because of you. And I'm going to blame this next segment on you.
Okay, I'll take it.
Let's talk a little bit about NFL comps. Max and I will go down a list of SFL teams and try to figure out which NFL teams each of the SFL clubs resembles. Now, for example, and this is where this all started, Max, on the podcast, you've often compared my team, the Dallas Roughnecks, to the Indianapolis Colts. So I have two questions for you. Why, and are you a Colts fan?
I'll answer the second question first. No, no, never.
Okay.
Okay, no. Now, this is funny. I'm actually a Jaguars fan. I've been a Jaguars fan since inception. Now, the cardiac Colts with Jim Harbaugh, when they almost went to the Super Bowl, I kind of, had a thing for them. When Marshall Faulk got drafted by them, Marshall Faulk was such an electric player. I was like, all right. But when they traded Marshall Faulk away to the Rams for Edgerrin James, I was like, you know what? This Colts, I ain't feeling them. And then they drafted Peyton Manning. I'm a Gator, Steven. I cannot like Peyton Manning. Like, it's a gift. It's an edict. I believe it's an edict in Gainesville. You cannot like Volunteers. So, that being said, and then the Colts, during the whole realignment, when they, expansion added Houston, the Colts came. They created a whole new division through the Colts, the Titans, the Texans, and the Jaguars in there. And I'm like, really? We're stuck with these teams? So no, I cannot be a Colts fan ever.
Gotcha.
So I hope that answers your question.
It does.
Now, why did I compare your team to the Colts? Because of, first of all, you're an indoor team. The Colts are an indoor team. You have goal quarterback, goal receiver, goal defensive end. In the league, I used to be in a PS3 NFL Sim League with Frank way back in the day. He can tell you it was called the Gridiron. And whenever a user selected the Colts, that was usually the debate being had, because I used to be quality control. I used to be the one that enforced, hey, dude, you can't be making that scrub third receiver a goal player. That's not how it's going to work around here. So whoever had the Colts usually had Dwight Freeney with a gold Peyton Manning and a silver Marvin, or Dwight Freeney at gold with a gold Marvin and a silver Peyton. So that was always, so those three were the gold players on rotation for the Colts. So when I saw your build, and I'm like, the real life Colts, that's how they're built. It's all offense, and then that pass rusher on defense, because when it's late in the game and the team has to throw, that pass rusher will come in and wreak havoc and win you the game that way. And that's how your team is built. You have your gold, Mac Wavy. You know what I'm saying? You got gold, Tika Bell. So once you get that lead, and then the fourth quarter comes, like this past game against Sioux Falls, it was a tightly knit contest. But fourth quarter came, and they had to throw the ball every down. Tika Bell just pinned his ears back and created havoc for either him or other people on that D-line to affect the quarterback. I believe you had like 5 or 6 picks that game because of it. It was something ridiculous. So that's why I compared your team to the Colts, because that's how you're built. You play with the lead, and then come fourth quarter, Tika Bell and the rest of that D-line just takes over the game. Because that's the same thing that happened when the Storm visited you. It was the contest was 21-6 at halftime. Then that third quarter came, and then it's like a switch got lit under that D-line, because I think they had 5 sacks in the third quarter. It was just outrageous. But that's what it is. Once you get that lead, and at home, it's almost like, the crowd drowns out the signals, so the tackle can't hear the snap. Next you know, Tiki Bell's all over your quarterback. Yeah, so that's why I compared your team to the Colts.
Well, hence the reason why I created this segment here to talk about NFL comps, because that was you talking about it on the Inside the SFL podcast really sparked the idea in my head of, okay, well, if we're the Colts, what are the other teams? And that's where we're here now. So, fair warning for everyone listening, these comparisons are not, I quote, not perfect, all right? They are all up for debate. These comps are made to start discussions. So if you believe that your team is a different NFL comp, then please let us know in Slack through daily discussions. and realize that these are not set in stone. We don't think that you play like the St. Louis Rams if we compare you to the Rams. These comparisons are more based, at least for me, on team build than they are performance, or as an overall statement of how your team will perform this season. I'm not saying that because, let's say the Rams fail that you're going to fail. Just a similar build and play a similar way. Those are kind of the criteria that I used to go by. So with all that said, you've been warned. Be prepared to get upset about what we're going to comp your team as, but please bring discussion. We want to talk about it and do so in Slack. Okay, so without further ado, Mighty, let's talk about the Tallahassee Pride. They're 4-0. This last weekend had a bye week. Now, these rankings on offense and defense, they are based on rankings prior to week 5. So, because our DAX stats has been having some issues updating, so I had to use the before this last weekend's total offense, total defense. So, total offense for the Tallahassee Pride, they're second in the league, pass first, run 7th. On defense, total defense is 6th, passing defense is 6th, and run defense is 7th. They have a gold strong safety, a gold quarterback, a gold tight end. At the silver tier, they have a running back, a linebacker, and 2 wide receivers. And in bronze, they have a cornerback, free safety, linebacker, and 2 defensive ends. Now, Mighty, my comp for the Tallahassee Pride is the New England Patriots. 1, because of their winning streak, obviously, they're 4-0. 2, outside of E.T. King, who is a very efficient quarterback, you could say almost Brady-like efficiency, they don't have any really big stars that get it done. They have a potential Gronk-type tight end at a gold position. But when you think about the Tallahassee Pride's, makeup, outside of their strong safety, the face of the franchise, they don't really have anybody that really stands out. But they're good and they win, and they probably have the best coaching staff in the SFL. What are your thoughts?
You hit that nail. You hit that one on the head. Cause
really?
Cause I believe, cause, E.T. King, this season has been very Brady-like. Like you said, they have that gold Gronk-like tight end. And, the way that the silver running back whisperer, I called you that, Frank, can get, JCK, Calvin Kim involved, whether it be via the pass or via the run. And, they are amorphous. They don't have, it's not one specific thing they do well. They do whatever is necessary at that time to be competitive and to kind of throw a wrench in the opposing team's game plan that, tries to take away the strength that they thought Tallahassee had coming into that game. So you hit that thing on that, because that's how the Patriots are run. One game, they might run the ball 40 times. The next game, they might throw the ball 60. They'll do whatever is necessary for them to win the ball game. And defensively, they're not great. They're not terrible. They have a lot of bend but don't break in them, because they don't allow anything to go over the top of their heads. They'll force you to take the short stuff, run up there, hit you hard, maybe force a fumble, force a 3 and out. And then if you're impatient, you force a turnover here, turnover there. So the Tallahassee, I could guess. Yes, they are the Patriots. They are the evil empire of the SFL.
And I want to say, it's the strong safety. Their gold is A.J. Barnes. Shout out to him. So I want to go ahead and say that. All right, so let's move on to Los Angeles Sharks, who are 3-2. Prior to week 5, they had the number 7 total defense, number 7 total offense, 10th in the passing game, 1st in the running game. Offensively, defensively, they're 9th in passing and 4th against the run. They have a gold quarterback, running back, and cornerback. So I want to say quarterback and cornerback. And at silver, they have 2 wide receivers and both safeties. At bronze, a tight end, 3 linebackers, and a bronze cornerback. So my NFL comp for the Sharks is the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, you have Doug Bose, and that's your Adrian Peterson. That's the guy that's going to be knocking people down. He's going to be doing with power. He's going to be doing with moves. He's going to be doing with strength. He's the best running back right now in the SFL. You've got a young quarterback. We've talked about Mass South. I think he's your Teddy Bridgewater. He can be consistent, but there are some issues in that area, and the team doesn't necessarily always turn to him to win ball games. They hand it off to their AP. And then you've got a gold cornerback in Charlie Monk, who is Xavier Rhodes, who played well this season for the Vikings. So they don't necessarily have big names at wide receiver, although Macho Fogg is certainly in consideration for that. But like the Vikings, they do have some young studs that can definitely catch the ball, but they're just not known for that. And they've got a solid defense that's made up of a really great linebacker core. So Minnesota Vikings, LA Sharks, what are your feelings?
I could dig that comparison. I was gonna lean a different way.
Please do.
With it. I was thinking more, because of the way Matt South is kind of struggling a little bit, but they're still kind of winning in spite of him. More like Kansas City Chief-like than the Vikings, especially seeing that before this past performance against St. Louis, like, you weren't doing much of anything against the Sharks. Offensive, at least your offense wasn't, So they were more a shutdown. Their defense was almost shut down before they ran to the Gladiators. And that's who I compare them to more than anything else, because, their quarterback, he's able to get the receivers involved a little bit. But he's not really a threat to, take the top off your defense. And then they lean on their running game to kind of win the game, pull out some incredible runs from time to time. And then the defense is like, the defense gets on the field, gives up nothing easy, nothing simple. And you kind of struggle to move the ball against them. And then, you get hard-headed and you try to test that goal corner because, why not? Nothing else is working. And then they take the ball away from you, and then back to the running game. And then Matt South just, picking his spot. So they're a lot more Chief-like. And then, next thing you know, they've won 10 straight. So they're a lot, to me at least, they're more Chief-like than Viking-like, at least for this, for the current time being. Now, they might transform into something else, but yeah. But right now, they're a lot more Kansas City Chief-like to me.
That's great. And before we keep going here, I just want to make sure I shout out to Cameron Irvine. I had a discussion with him. He helped me kind of whittle these teams down. So there are obviously several different answers that we both came up with, and I'm sure me and Mike all come up with as comparisons. And again, this was all done to spark discussion. So I say the Vikings. Mighty says the Sharks look more like the Chiefs to him, so we'll move on and go to the 3-1 Baltimore Crabs, coming off an impressive win against Houston on Monday. Prior to this last week, their total offense was 10th in the league, 9th in the run. 9th in the pass, 12th in the run. Total defense was 12th overall, passing 10th, run 11th. But their defense plays much better than those rankings show there. Gold, they have a running back, a wide receiver, and a linebacker. Silver, quarterback, strong safety, wide receiver, cornerback. And at bronze, a wide receiver, free safety, cornerback, wide receiver, free safety. So, my NFL comp for the Baltimore Crabs is the Arizona Cardinals. In Robinson, this is a big connection for me at running back. He is very much like David Johnson, not just a threat out of the backfield as a runner, but as a pass catcher, leading the league right now in receptions. You've got a gold wide receiver that could easily be your Larry Fitzgerald, and you've got a silver quarterback in Restelli that can have Carson Palmer like effectiveness or ineffectiveness depending upon the game. What are your thoughts about the Baltimore Crabs, and what NFL team do they remind you of?
They remind me of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, everybody remembers the meltdown the Falcons had. But prior to that game, in the regular season, they were a juggernaut offensively. They spread the ball. Everybody touches the rock. They had, they threw it deep to Julio. They used 2-3 tight end sets and spread them out wide. Who does that? They're glorified linemen out there. Matt Ryan did it. That's who I see Rastelli as. Kind of Matt Ryan like spreading the wealth around so you can't key on who is he gonna throw the ball to. And then they keep their running backs involved, be it by the pass or by the run. They never forget about the guy that lines up behind the quarterback. And that's who the Crabs remind me of so much, at least this season, the way they're going about their business, is the Atlanta Falcons. They're spreading the wealth, spread the ball to everybody, and then when you forget that Sanzo's back there, they give Sanzo the rock via by a draw, a regular running play, a stretch, a swing, a screen. They never forget that he's back there. But they make sure that the defense never forgets either. So that's who they remind me of, at least for the time being.
All right. So for the Baltimore Crabs, they remind me of the Arizona Cardinals. They remind Mighty of the Atlanta Falcons. And speaking of Atlanta, we'll move on now to the Atlanta Swarm, who are 2-2 prior to this weekend. Their total offense was first, number 1 in the league, 5th passing, 4th on the run, on the ground. Total defense, 5th overall. Passing 7th, run 6th. They have a gold running back, wide receiver, defensive tackle, silver tight end, cornerback, free safety, wide receiver, bronze quarterback, and Mighty knows something a little bit about that. 2 linebackers, a cornerback, and a strong safety. And my NFL comp for the Atlanta Swarm is the Oakland Raiders. Now, I had a little bit of discussion with this. Me and Cam went back and forth about this, but ultimately decided on the Raiders. And the biggest bone of contention was the quarterback position for us. But honestly, and this is something that Cam brought up, is that Skeleton P-Funk has been playing way over his star grade as a bronze. So he's been playing at a gold level, and so deserves a comparison with Carr. They do have they've got some great wide receivers, the Raiders do. And, of course, they've got that speed, and I wouldn't think necessarily as established as Hollywood is in Atlanta, but they've got a solid running back with the Oakland Raiders. That's my comparison. What's yours, Marty?
That's actually a very good one. I couldn't think of a team in the league that represents, or they're more similar to. So the Raiders fit very much, between Derek Carr throwing darts all over the field, the Crabtree and Cooper, and then you got Murray back there. In the screen game and in the short running game, that's on point. That is, to me, that's it right there. You hit on the head again.
Good deal. All right, let's move on to the Dallas Roughnecks, 3-1. Their total offense is 5th in the league. Total defense is 2nd. Gold quarterback, wide receiver, defensive end, a silver free safety running back, and 2 other silver wide receivers. At bronze, a linebacker, a cornerback, strong safety, cornerback again, and guess what? Another one of those dang wide receivers. NFL comp for me, and I'm biased, obviously. And at first I had the Atlanta Falcons. You could throw the Green Bay Packers in there. But ultimately, we settled on the New Orleans Saints. We're talking about a primarily passing offense that's going to spread the ball all over the field, many different wide receivers. That's exactly what the New Orleans Saints do with Drew Brees and his, majority of wide receivers out there. They've always had a fairly good pass rush, and then you've got a goal defensive end there. And running back, Mark Ingram, Mike Davis, very comparable in the way that they're used. Sometimes they can run for 100 yards. Sometimes they're not in the offense at all. So what are your thoughts? I know that you've said already the Indianapolis Colts make the most sense to you. But hearing about these what do you think about the New Orleans Saints comparison?
It's a good one, but if you want to me, the Roughnecks look more like the New York Giants. At least this season's iteration of the Giants, where they don't really have a run game. They relied on Eli to kind of save them. They relied on ODB and Victor Cruz and that rookie they got to kind of put points on the board and, being able to help them compete. And then their defense was something else this season. That's one reason why they gave the Cowboys fits. this season is because their defense, like especially their secondary, was a problem because they could match up with anybody, which gave Jason Pierre-Paul and the rest of that D-line time to get after quarterbacks and create havoc. And so that's who I see the Roughnecks most similar as this season is the New York Football Giants.
And I think you actually thinking about that, I think you nailed the nail on the head with that comparison. I didn't even see that till you just brought it up to me. I think you're absolutely right, and that stings me to say that as a Dallas Cowboys fan and as someone who hates the Giants. But I absolutely see that comparison. I think you've got it nailed. All right, let's move on from that to the Las Vegas Gamblers, who are 3-1. Total offense 14th prior to this weekend. Total defense 11th. They've got a gold quarterback, defensive tackle, and running back. Silver, they've got a cornerback, a strong safety, a free safety, and a defensive end. At bronze, 2 wide receivers, 2 linebackers, and a tight end. For me, the NFL comp is somewhere between the Tennessee Titans and the Los Angeles Rams. With the Titans, you've got DeMarco Murray. You've got a solid running back. They've got that in Overstreet. With the Rams, they have got, a lot of people may not know this, but they've got Aaron Donald, who is the best defensive tackle in the game. I believe that they have that same type of defensive tackle in Las Vegas. The quarterbacks become the issue. Marcus Mariota, I think, is a very favorable comparison to Mario Savage. The Rams don't really have a comparable quarterback, so that's where that comp kind of falls off for me. But the Titans, they don't have any really big names on their wide receiver core. They've got a solid defense, and I think for the Gamblers, Tennessee Titans make a lot of sense. What about for you, Marty?
Well, this one was a little more difficult because trying to fit certain things of an NFL team and certain strengths and weaknesses they might have was kind of, especially with the Gamblers. I saw a little bit of Denver with the way their defense, you can't really throw the ball against Las Vegas. But then offensively, it didn't fit because of the goal quarterback that Savage is and the goal running back that they had. It just didn't fit. So I thought a little more Tampa Bay. Jameis Winston as quarterback. You got Gerald McCoy being that problematic defensive tackle that just wreaks havoc to your offensive line and your backfield. And so that's kind of who I put my finger on as to who they kind of remember me of. You have Doug Martin back there. Whether it be in the run game or in the screen game, just the muscle hamster being, just matriculating yards, spinning off defenders, stiff arming defenders, leaving defenders' ankles just broken all over the field. So that's who the Gamblers kind of the most similar to me is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right, let's move on to the Houston Hyenas. They're 2-2. Their total offense is 3rd in the league. Total defense was 1st. Remember, these are prior to this past set of games. They got a gold running back, linebacker, and quarterback. They have a silver, both safety positions, wide receiver and a cornerback, and a bronze wide receiver, actually 2 wide receivers, tight end, defensive end, and cornerback. NFL comp for me is somewhere in between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, they have a dynamic running back, a Le'Veon Bell type running back in Hawkins. The question marks for me kind of come into the quarterback position. Does Contrell play more like Roethlisberger, or is he more like Miami's the Dolphins quarterback and Ryan Tannehill? I think you're somewhere there in between. It's not quite as consistent as Ben, but if Tannehill plays well, Miami wins games. Also, Miami Dolphins have a great running back in that Jay Ajayi, who really surprised people this season. You know that they're going to bring a solid defense. Both of these teams do that. So for you, Mighty, who do the Houston Hyenas, what NFL team do they comp well for you?
For me, they comp well to the Dolphins. They really do. Between, Tannehill, Ajayi, you got DRC playing his Jarvis Landry role out there, just a fiery wide receiver. And, they are the Dolphins. Now, they don't have a Sioux on defense, which I don't know if that's good or bad for the Hyenas. They might have someone like Sioux on defense going around stopping opponents. But yes, they're, the Dolphins got hot. I could see the Hyenas getting hot in the middle of their schedule and rattling off a bunch of wins in a row as well. And once once the code calms down and doesn't turn the ball over as much as he's been doing lately. And then tame his game like Tannehill tamed his game this season. They are very similar to the Miami Dolphins to me as well.
The Sioux Falls Sparrows, 2-3, total offense 9th in the league, total defense 3rd. Gold, strong safety, wide receiver, quarterback. Strong, silver, free safety, wide receiver, and 2 cornerbacks. Bronze, defensive end, 3 linebackers, and a free safety. And we've talked about this team having 9 stars on defense, only 3 on offense, those being quarterback and 2 wide receivers. My NFL comp, and this one was really something that Cam really was stinging about in the fact that he loves his team. He believes that they best, really compare well to the Green Bay Packers. You're talking about Aaron Rodgers, and the Sparrows have Tyree. They're looking to pass the ball. They're not looking to run the ball. And the Green Bay Packers have had their issues at running back this season, whether that be due to, mainly it's just due to injury and just not having enough players on the depth chart. This was a selection. This was a choice by the Sparrows to go real passing heavy. And in one time, the Green Bay Packers defense was number 1 against the run in the league defensively. So they have a strong defensive presence, very much like the Sparrows. So what do you think about this Packers comp to the Sparrows, Mighty?
It's a good one. But I don't know if Jason's gonna like this one. To me, they favored the Baltimore Ravens, where Flacco loves the long ball. We all know he has a cannon, and Julian Tyree, we know he has a cannon as well, and he loves the long ball.
Yeah, he does.
And Baltimore this year struggled to run the ball. Sioux Falls struggles to run the ball. Baltimore this season had a pretty good defense. Sioux Falls defense is pretty good as well. To me, that's who they're more similar to, where you have you got Jordan Jennings, you got Nick T. Quick, and then you got a bunch of younger guys trying to prove themselves. Well, Baltimore's issue on offense this season is behind Steve Smith was a bunch of young guys trying to prove themselves as well as in the past as pass catchers. So that's who Sioux Falls, to me, is most similar to the Baltimore Ravens.
All right, moving on to your Alaska Storm, the 3-2, total offense 13th in the league, total defense 8th prior to this weekend. Gold running back, strong safety tight end, silver cornerback, wide receiver, defensive tackle, and another cornerback, and bronze free safety tight end, quarterback, wide receiver, and kicker. One of the only 2 SFL teams that have a bronze quarterback. For me, the NFL comp for the Alaska Storm are the Kansas City Chiefs. We've talked about the Chiefs earlier today, earlier in the podcast, comparing them to another team. For me, this fits because you've got a gold running back in Jamal Charles. You've got a gold running back in Beakley. The safety position, which is a gold, that's your Eric Berry. You've got Optimus Klein at tight end. They've got Travis Kelce. And then your quarterback, and you've mentioned this, that Mock is not being asked to win games. Alex Smith for the Chiefs isn't asked to win games. He's a game manager. Mock is very much that way right now. So your thoughts, Kansas City Chiefs comparison to your team?
That's good. It's not the one I'd pick. The one I'd pick is is this podcast gonna be kept between us, or are you gonna share it? Because if you're gonna share
this is sharing.
I think I might lose my Jaguars card. The team we most resemble this, at least so far this season, is the Houston Texans, where our quarterback's not asked to win anything. Like, matter of fact, if we could pull him and put the punter in there, we probably would try that, but it's not possible. So we're stuck with him, kind of like they're stuck with Brock. Our defense is slowly turning things around. Big Sexy in there is kind of like our J.J. Watt. He's a force to be reckoned with. And then as he goes, the rest of the defense goes. If he struggles, the defense struggles. And then offensively, we just do enough, and if, for those that don't know, the Texans' base offense was 2 tight ends, 2 receivers. That is the Storm's base offense, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. So that's who we're most similar to, is the Houston Texans.
All right. Let's move on here to the Queen City Corsairs. They are 1-3, total offense 6th, total defense 9th. Gold quarterback, running back, defensive end, silver wide receiver, 2 linebackers and a strong safety, bronze defensive end, free safety, 2 wide receivers, and a defensive tackle. For me, the NFL comp, the San Diego Chargers make a lot of sense to me, but also the Miami Dolphins can be thrown in there. Obviously, you've got a gold quarterback who struggles at times. That really fits to that Tannehill, Phillip Rivers type. You've got a good gold running back. Really, the Chargers have Melvin Gordon. We've talked about Ajayi. Marcus Bose, I think, is better than those two. Bose is just a powerful running back that will destroy people and has the speed to be a home run hit. So not a perfect Lego fit there, but at least it's a top-level running back. And then at defensive end, they've got a big pass rusher, so you know that they're going to get after the quarterback. I think both the Chargers defense and the Miami defense, they do a good job of doing that, but they're not known as premier defenses necessarily. So the comp doesn't necessarily fit totally. And both, they've all had their struggles, but I just think that quarterback there, that position for me is kind of where the comparison fits. What about you? Queen City Corsairs for you, Mighty?
They are the Tennessee Titans of the SFL, where offensively they have a higher tier quarterback that they're expecting major things of, and a couple plays here and there, he looks like he's all world, but then he falls, flat on his face and kind of doesn't do what they expect. And then their defense is very good against the runs. The Titans defense was very good against the run. And then when they get you in known passing situations, they can get after you. But if you're able to block their front, their secondary could be had. And that's what the Tennessee Titans' problem was this season as well. The fact that their pass rush was very good, but if you were able to block Jarrell Casey, and the rest of those guys, you're able to attack their secondary. And that's who Queen City reminds me of this season.
Let's move on to the Oklahoma City Renegades. They're 2-2. Total offense 4th, same as their total defense. Running back, tight end, free safety at gold. Quarterback, cornerback, strong safety and wide receiver at silver. And at bronze, cornerback, defensive end, tight end, linebacker, and wide receiver. For me, it falls within 2 teams as well. Kansas City Chiefs make sense here. And the Baltimore Ravens make sense here for me. Obviously, you have question marks at the quarterback position. Red Feather, people have talked about him for seasons upon seasons. Can he be relied upon? But you have a strong running back in Brewski. That's kind of where the Baltimore Ravens comp kind of falls apart for me. But certainly Jamal Charles is that kind of in that same kind of gold tier area. You've got a tight end. Again, Kansas City has that Travis Kelce. You've got a gold tight end there in Oklahoma City. And you've got a strong defense predicated on rushing the passer. That's where Baltimore really kind of shines for me with Terrell Suggs, and that kind of where the comparison goes to. So I'm saying somewhere in between Kansas City and Baltimore. What about you, Matty? Who's your comp for Oklahoma City?
It's a weird comp, actually. To me, it's the Detroit Lions, where Red Feather this season has been kind of a revelation. He's played better than he's this the hottest start that he's had, besides that one game where I think he dropped like 19 touchdowns. But yeah, besides that is the hottest start he's had to the season, which is, good for OKC because they need that if they want to be competitive. And then, you got, Brewski back there, still being Brewski. Detroit kind of use a plateau running back. They have one that could run. They got one that could catch. They got one that could block on third down. So, that's where it kind of loses out as well. But defensively, Detroit was a well-rounded team. They were one of those Bama don't break defenses. And then, they were very opportunistic in the special teams game where they could block a punt or return a punt for a touchdown, whenever you got greedy and whatnot. And then OKC is the same. If when you fall asleep, OKC will block a punt in a hurry, So, and then when they could get after your quarterback if necessary. So, yeah, that to me, that's the comp right there. That's the Detroit. Lions are comparable to your Oklahoma City Renegades.
Yeah, and I like that comparison. If you could only kind of, it's that gold running back is what gets me, because Detroit just doesn't have.
No, they don't have that bell cow.
Amir Abdullah, but I mean he could turn out to be that for them. But yeah, no. There's that Zach Zinner could be Brewski if Zinner they actually trusted him more and put him into the starting lineup a little bit more this year. He could absolutely be that Brewski type. So I love that Detroit comparison. All right, 3 more guys hang with us. Mexico City Aztecs, they're 1-3, total offense 11th, total defense 13th, of course, prior to this weekend. Gold, quarterback, wide receiver, free safety. At silver, you've got another wide receiver, cornerback, strong safety, linebacker. And at bronze running back, wide receiver, tight end, cornerback, and kicker. For me, it falls between 2 again, and you just talked about the Detroit Lions. I think the Detroit Lions could fit here. Also, the Atlanta Falcons could fit here. And I'll attack more the Atlanta Falcons end of it. You've got a gunslinging type Matt Ryan quarterback in Matt Wilson. He's your gold. You've got talented wide receivers. You've got Chris Davis. He's your Julio Jones. At running back, it's a bronze, but Mexico City knows how to run Bentley. And the Atlanta Falcons, for me, the running game, although they have 2 very talented runners, it was secondary to the passing game, which I feel is very much in sync with Mexico City. On the defensive side, you've got a solid linebacker, Vic Beasley type for the Aztecs. And, the secondary is solid. They got a lot of interceptions on me personally, and they've done so with Houston. They turned that game around with those interceptions, so they're a turnover-heavy defense. Atlanta got their defense was part of the reason why they were able to get to the Super Bowl this year. Also, maybe the Detroit Lions compare really well here with the Aztecs. So, what are your thoughts on the NFL comp for the Aztecs, Marty?
Good, but not where I'd go. I'm thinking more the San Diego Chargers, where you got Phillip Rivers basically being not only the face of the franchise, but being the franchise, and they only go as far as his right arm leads him. And then, he spreads the ball around to literally everybody. I think a couple of his cheerleaders had passing touchdowns this year. It's you know what I'm saying? So that's who Matt Wilson is to me. He's very Phillip Rivers-like. They love to throw the ball. The Aztecs love to throw the ball. They keep Roy Bentley, busy from time to time. They do feed him the rock where he's able to, crease defense whenever they lean too much on, pass coverage. So that's who they are there. And, San Diego's defense wasn't half bad this year. They actually had one of the better run defenses in the league. Mexico City's run defense is actually, pretty good. So that, to me, that would be the best comp to the NFL comp would be the San Diego Chargers.
All right, now I think I nailed the nail on the head here. I think I got it on this one here. This is the St. Louis Gladiators. They're 1-3, coming off a big win over LA this weekend. Total offense is 12th. Total defense is 14th. Gold running back, quarterback, defensive tackle. 2 silver defensive ends, along with a silver wide receiver and cornerback. And in bronze, a tight end, 2 wide receivers, free safety, and another cornerback. Their NFL comp to me is the Buffalo Bills. And this is one that I came up almost instantly thinking about this team. You've got your Shady McCoy at running back. You've got a quarterback that's arguably the most athletic in the league. There's your Tyrod Taylor. On defense, they've got that defensive tackle and 2 defensive ends. They underperformed this season under Rex Ryan, but they're known for just being a stout defensive line. You've got some talented wide receivers in Buffalo, and they've got a silver and 2 bronzes there with St. Louis. So my comp for them is the Buffalo Bills. For the Gladiators, who you got, Marty?
Another ace job by you, Mr. Reporter, Stephen Mullinax. That's who I went with as well. Super athletic quarterback that when given time can make plays not only in the passing game but in the run game. A beast of a running back, not only beast, but I'm talking about like, I've been saying it for years now. I believe Parkeet Chula is the fastest player in the league, like hands down. Like I've never seen Parkeet get ran down from behind, ever. So, that's your LeSean McCoy right there. You got your D line that Rex was trying to light a fire under but wasn't able to. Well, we saw that this week the Gladiators was able to get that D-line fired up, and hopefully they're able to keep it fired up. But, that's where it was, at least coming into this week, was an underachieving D-line and them trying to figure out defensively who they want to be offensively. Buffalo basically spent this season trying to figure out who they were, to the tune of last game of the season, sit down your star quarterback because you don't want him to reach his incentives. Like, okay, so, yes, the Gladiators, yes, equals Buffalo Bills.
All right, and the final team that we're going to talk about in NFL comps is the Carolina Skyhawks, currently 0-5, but very close. Total offense 8th, total defense 10th, gold running back, free safety wide receiver, silver quarterback, 2 cornerbacks, and a wide receiver, and a bronze, a tight end, a linebacker, strong safety, another wide receiver, and another linebacker. My NFL comp for the Carolina Skyhawks is the Chicago Bears. Is there any quarterback other than Jamison Monroe that's talked about more than Jay Cutler, in the Chicago Bears? I don't think there's any other Jay Cutler-like quarterback talked about so much and his play maybe criticized as much as Jamison Monroe in Carolina. You've got a stud running back in Jordan Howard. A lot of people don't know that this rookie was the second highest rusher in the league this last season. Now, when I look at this Carolina Skyhawks team, I see Johnny English as an Adrian Peterson type, but I really feel that the Chicago Bears fits it a little bit better than the Minnesota Vikings because of the Monroe Cutler comparison. You've got a gold wide receiver in Carolina, Zealy, who could absolutely be your Alshon Jeffrey. What do you think about this Carolina Skyhawks as Chicago Bears comparison, Mighty?
That is a very good comparison, Stephen Molinak. That's a great comparison. Because as a Jaguar fan, I've seen firsthand what Jordan Howard could do, both as a runner and a receiver, and production. We won't compare yard to yard, but productivity wise, he is Johnny English like. Like by the end of the game, he will have this many yards from scrimmage. And can hurt you in that same kind of fashion if he's unaccounted for. Even when you count for him, he's sitting there just pounding away at defense and just matriculating yards, through every obstacle you throw at him. And then defensively, the Bears kind of struggle their way through the season, and that's kind of where the Skyhawks are, where offensively they know they have a stud in the backfield, and he's been a stud, and is going to stay a stud. But Jamison Monroe is trying to find himself, and then because of this, the state of where they are defensively, they're stuck in a quandary where, the offense doesn't score, the defense is on the field too long, and then yardages are being had because the defense is exhausted being on the field that long. And that's one of the Bears' problems this season was that because their offense was so, I could say inept would be a good word, that their defense would just be on the field way too long, which would cause, fatigue to set in, and the other teams were able to score because of it.
Well, thank you. That's our NFL comp section. Thank you so much, Mighty, for going through all those teams and taking the time out to go through all those teams with me. Was it at least fun to think about?
That was good stuff, Steven. That was good stuff. I enjoyed being part of this.
Let me throw something out here to you. The one team we didn't compare any of these teams to is your Jacksonville Jaguars. So, thinking about your team this season, which one of these SFL teams is most similar to what went on in Jacksonville this season?
That's a great question. Now, this is the thing though. When you're looking at SFL teams, you need a quarterback that was good, expected to be great, and isn't. Can we go with AJ Caswell? Well, no, not really, because this is kind of
his first season.
His first season, we can't go with Tyree because Blake wasn't that good. He was 35 touchdowns good. He wasn't. Tyree threw for 40 last year. Yeah, he wasn't 40 good.
What do you think about the Mexico City Aztecs? Matt Wilson hasn't been as good as he was last season, or last couple of seasons. still struggling to kind of find himself here?
You know what? That's actually a pretty good one, because Matt Wilson last year, though he threw a ton of touchdowns, he also threw a gazillion picks as well. So that was Blake's problem last year. He threw 35 touchdowns, also led the league in interceptions with I think 23. It was crazy. And then, coming into this season, there wasn't much of a running game in Jacksonville. Defensively, actually, they were actually pretty good. I could go with Mexico City. You've got an Allen
Robinson type in Chris Davis. You've got Jalen Ramsey type free safety there with one of the Carlo Montero at gold. You've got them. There's some solid pieces there. I think that does make a little bit of sense there.
Yeah, Mexico City work.
All right, buddy. Hey, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. Thank you for all that you do for the league. You're great on Inside the SFL. I think they found a gold mine, and I said it from the very beginning. I think they found a gold mine when they found you as the co-host to Doug, who does also a wonderful job. Obviously, we want to keep Doug in our prayers and our thoughts as he goes through his health issues and things. But Mighty, thank you so much for all that you do, and thank you for being with us and being just a class act and making the SFL better.
Well, thank you for this opportunity and all the kind words, Stephen. Can't wait to see what you do with the next episodes of the SOB podcast.
All right, buddy. I want to wish you and the Alaska Storm a terrific season. You guys are on an uptick and look like you're well on your way to doing some damage this season.
Same to you as well, Stephen. I see your Roughnecks in that defense. I see y'all. I'm going to keep an eye on y'all, too.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good night.
All right, Stephen. Have a good night as well. All right, bye-bye.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.